Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Always On Point podcast here with Kristen Ambos. Today, we are coming to you with quite a bit that I have been experiencing, and it's one of those just checklists, right? We have to do some checklists every now and again to make sure. And this industry has, especially since like the COVID era, since 2020 probably, it's really been about speed. Speed. And while I agree with things being able to get done faster, not every loan can be done in that speed. Although it can be done, technically, it makes things confusing. Confusing for the buyers, confusing for the sellers, confusing for, anybody in between that's working on that. And a lot of times what happens is when we rush through things get missed. The mortgage world is not entirely AI, and help me now if it ever completely is, because I'll be out of a job. But why we want to make sure, and where I also think AI can't do what we can do, is dealing with real life emotions, real life situations with buyers, with sellers. Now, one stat that's out there right now, and I'm not going to quote the exact because I don't know it offhand and I only want to bring you accurate information, but there is a large percentage of buyers that are actually sellers too. So the people who are buying are also selling. Really high percentage of them right now. So that's a little different in our market because our market has been used to, and nationally, but I'll speak especially for like the Wisconsin market, Midwest in general, our markets have been more conservative, right? But the last handful of years, we got used to waiving inspections, waiving appraisals, waiving financing, waiving home sale contingencies, waiving any contingency available. So basically, we were just doing the loan and you were handing the seller money and we were good to go. Well, right now, over the course of the last few years, sellers have gotten a little more savvy on making sure that their offers now protect them too, and that they have some skin in the game here with protection and not just the sellers, being protected and everything and the buyers giving everything up. The other piece of that is we have had an abundance of real estate agents and lenders come into the market in the last 5 years. A lot of them are, I'll just say it, unfortunately, not trained well. They don't know all the processes. They're still learning. They've only been in for a few years. Maybe they work for a company that doesn't provide any training. Maybe they work for a company that says they provide a lot of training, but they're still missing a lot, and those types of things. And things that frustrate me as a loan officer, and don't get me wrong, I know real estate agents have a lot of frustrations from lenders out there too. And this is not about which one is worse or better because we all have a lot going on in this. But I will hone in again on the fact that working with a loan officer and a buyer's agent or a listing agent who knows what they're doing, has processes in place and teams that they work with to make sure that they can answer everything and guide you through this process smoothly, while giving you all of the information in 2 weeks or less, is critical. It is absolutely critical to closing on time. Remember, these are legal binding contracts. I have heard the seller or the buyer or litigious, you name it, whatever the word comes in, quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, because sellers are upset because they're not getting everything they want and they've been told for years they can just ask whatever and get whatever. Then buyers are in it and, the inspection doesn't come in right, the appraisal doesn't come in right, or their house doesn't sell the way they think it's going to sell. And now all of a sudden their selling contingency comes into place and now the seller's upset. There's a lot of emotions here, you guys. A lot of emotions. They're not always negative. Got a client this morning. She's closing tomorrow and she's super excited, very emotional. She's buying a house and she hasn't bought a house in a really long time for herself. And she's feeling pretty proud, bittersweet. But there's good emotions too. On the other side of it, there's tough emotions. And one of those things that I'll circle back to why it's so important to work with an agent, whether you're listing or buying, You want to work with an agent who's going to protect you. You want to work with an agent that has good processes. You want an agent that is transparent with you on everything, including their commissions, their firm's fees, warranty fees, any closings that come in on that. And I'm saying this because in the last couple of weeks, we've had quite a few buyers who are also sellers because they're selling their home, not know the money they're going to get at closing of the sale that they're using for the purchase because a proceed sheet was never done for them by the listing agent. One of them came to us 2 hours before closing and wanted to put an extra $20,000 down because they didn't realize they were getting that much money back at closing. We were able to accommodate. That's a really good problem to have, right? Is where you want to put more money down. That strengthens the file. We've also been in the exact opposite situation where there was no seller proceed sheet done, and the sellers legitimately thought that they were bringing 3% of their sale price for their seller closing costs. What was missed was that there was agent commissions on both the buy and the list side, including a home warranty, including an admin fee for that listing firm. Now, when that happens and you're talking a 6% seller commission fee and an admin fee and a warranty, those things add up to tens of thousands of dollars. And we need to know where that money is. And as a lender, whenever we're buying something and we need funds to close on it, we need to have all of that money sourced. So as I sit here, we're 2 hours from a closing and we're still sourcing funds to close because yesterday they got their seller sheet and it did not have as much money in it as they anticipated they would get. These are real things that happen. And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I was not in the rooms with everybody while they were talking and going through everything. What I can do is work with what we have now. And so what we did was we improvised, we strategized. Okay, where are we at? What do you have to use? Can we get a gift of money? Yes, we can get a gift of money. Okay, do we get a loan approval with that gift of money? We do? Great. If we don't, then what? Well, if we don't, then maybe we get a 401k to offset the gift. Here's the overall situation, and this is for buyers, sellers, this is for agents, this is for whomever is listening right now, honestly. When we are lending and there is a risk layer, we have to then offset that risk. We have to minimize that risk, right? Because we want to underwrite to ensure that the buyers can truly afford the home. We don't want to put them in a home they can't afford. And so we have to minimize all the risk. Well, credit score could be a risk. If you move jobs a lot, that could be a risk because you don't have solid job time at one job. If you're getting a gift of funds can be given, but that is another risk layer because the money's not coming directly from the owner of the home. So now what happens when we layer these risks? Okay. When we layer those risks, we still have to prove to the investor, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, doesn't matter. We have to prove to them that we're putting them in a position where they can afford this home. So we minimize that risk. You want to, as a buyer or as a seller who's going to be buying, you want to make sure that you're planning on that and you're getting that pre-approval done well in advance of even putting the home on the market to sell, and then quick hurrying up to have to buy something because that puts it in a pinch. And what happens, and I see this happen often over the last 25 years of being a loan officer in our market, is when we move fast, we're hearing what we want to hear, we're not hearing what we don't want to hear. Or we're forgetting to tell big pieces of the story that are going to matter in the end because we're just rushing to the table. And one thing I want to advise, because this comes up a lot too, is loan commitment letters. Lenders will issue you a loan commitment letter, but please know that that is still the day before closing. We're going to verify employment. We're going to verify funds to close. We're going to verify all of those things. And if anything's missing, we may not close on that loan. So that's why it's so imperative to do these things up front, to get all the numbers up front, to be patient. I know sometimes we have to work fast, and I'm okay with working fast, but I want to work okay fast knowing that we have all the pieces in line, that if you're a seller who's going to be buying, that you have all your pre-approvals done before you even sell the house so you know what you can afford. So you're going into the next home affording it. Agents, please make sure you're talking to these buyers about first mortgages, second mortgages, when they're selling, what do they have to pay off? What are those fees? and what do they need? And then as a lender, lenders listening to this right now, please make sure that you're getting all of these facts up front as best as you can, because it's going to set us up for success. And I will circle back around working with a loan officer who knows the industry well, and a real estate agent who either is mentored by a great team or has been in the business a really long time, who's got a lot of closings under their belt. Take advice from them. Or if you don't have a mentor, if you're a new agent, you don't have a mentor, get one. Because together, that's where you learn. I will say first and foremost, I came into this industry because I worked for a top producing loan officer, and he was kind enough to teach me everything I needed to know in the business the right way. And I took those things. And then when it was time for me to fly and go on my own, he encouraged me to go on my own. I was very excited because I had his support, and I learned all the things I needed to know for probably a good year, maybe even 2, before I did it on my own. If you are a loan officer out there who's newer, get a mentor, get on a team, learn the right way. Do that for yourself, for your clients, for all the reasons, right? All the reasons is to get people into a home the best way we can. If you are a real estate agent, please think about a mentor, get with a team, get with a brokerage firm who's really going to train you on everything you need to know. The amount of agents that I've talked to just on a seller's proceeds sheet this week even, and the amount of people who don't do one as a listing agent is mind-blowing. So if you're a listing agent, please, that seller's proceeds sheet, especially now that we're selling houses, in order to qualify for the next ones, are so important to know what we're working with up front, what they really have and what they don't have to put into the next home, so they're not surprised at the end. But starting with a good team, getting that mentorship done could be crucial to you making or breaking it in this career. So I'm really, and to those clients, remember, agents depend on their loan officer. Loan officers depend on their client. The client depends on the agent. We're a big circle. We all depend on each other. And so when you find that right team, and as a consumer, I mean team, loan officer, real estate agent, insurance agent, inspector, whatever that looks like, make sure you're working with a team. If you're selling, don't just focus on what the listing agent is going to charge you for commissions. Focus on what the value they're going to bring to you to get you to the table with all the right information. If you're a buyer, if you're a seller who's going to be a buyer and you're looking at a loan officer where you need a loan, please make sure you're working with somebody who gives you all the numbers transparent, that the numbers at the end are the same as the beginning. The only reason anything should change is if something that wasn't stated up front comes up in the lending side. And we're always going to find it, guys. I hate to say it, but we will. So the more info we can get up front, the better. That communication between the agent and the loan officer is, when you've got that, you will have the best closing experience. You will have the best understanding of what you need, what it's going to cost you, what you might take back, what you want to use, all the things. So this is just to remind those who are newer in the industry to get with a mentor, get with a team, get with a really great training program. If you are a loan officer, same thing, get with a team who's going to sit down and train you, who's going to mentor you to make sure that you can be the best you can be in this industry. There is way too much information to ever understand it, even in 2, 3, 4 years. I would be willing to bet and say that as a loan officer, when you really feel confident in this industry, you've probably got at least 100 deals closed underneath your belt. When you are a real estate agent, I would say you're probably the same, between 50 and 100 deals under your belt, because every time of the year that you buy is different. Meaning seasonally, every market is different. And when you work with somebody like myself, just for example, 25 years, I've been through every market. I've been through every economic market. I've been through every seasonal market. I've seen the highs, the lows, the new builds, the foreclosures, all the things. I am as good as I am because of my tenure, because of my timeline, because of the amount of business I've done and the problem solving I've done to keep things together at the end. And that only comes with time, and that's okay. But if if you can work with somebody who's got that timeline and is willing to help you and scale up to pay it forward for our next generation of loan officers and real estate agents, it's a really good place to be. So if this makes any sense to you and you want to talk more about it, give me a call. Let's talk. Happy to sit down and go over the whys and put you in the right hands. I'm lucky enough that I work with some amazing real estate agents who do know all the right processes, and we'd love to make sure you have a really good experience, whether you're selling a home or whether you're selling and then buying a new home. So really appreciate you. As always, thank you for listening in today, and we'll see you next week here at the Always On Point podcast.